Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today in this video I'm going to be showing you guys what I think is it's like the ultimate hexing, chaos, cursing witch build so far in the game that I've tried. I am absolutely loving it, and this is after a lot of sort of refining and grinding and farming. I've actually refunded, I spent like 40,000 gold refunding perks or passive skill points and then putting them in different things to try different combinations, and this is where I landed with it. And I gotta say, it is firing on all cylinders right now. This is so good at crowd control, like nasty at crowd control. Entire mobs just get immediately deleted here. I'll play tons of clips in the background footage. One of them is going to be a room that's just filled with bad guys, including a yellow bar, and it's not even 10 seconds, and everything's dead. Everything's dead. This is at my level. This is on the cruel difficulty. I will tell you that right now I'm at level 55. This build is only going to get better, and I will show you why. I want to start actually with the passive tree, because I think that's going to just sort of drive home what we're trying to do here first and foremost. So one of the things I ended up doing was removing almost all minion perks from this build. I could short track it this way right out of the gate, but I wanted to keep these because they also do spell damage, and I'm using lots of spells. So I decided to keep these. I only would get 1 extra point out of this anyways if I didn't go that route, so not a big deal. But one of the first things we're investing in over here on the left side of the tree is Spiral into Insanity, 29% chaos damage increase, 10% global defenses, and then obviously 7% chaos buffs with each of the other nodes. We're going to be investing in a lot of chaos perks and a lot of curse perks. Chaos damage here, 18%, and skill effect duration. We want them lasting longer. I'm going to start up here next. We're going to come down and we're going to snag Void. 29% increased chaos damage. Enemies you curse have minus 3% to chaos resistance. It's just a ton of chaos damage. We're going to come back down the tree and head over this way. We're going to follow this node here all the way to Lingering Horror, which gives us 23% more chaos damage, 15% increased skill effect duration. We're going to come one further over, and we are going to now start investing in our curses. This is going to increase the area of effect. So our curse radius is wider. We can catch more people in it. And this is absolutely crucial. You cannot pass this up in order for this build to work. Last thing is zone control. 40% increased area of effect on top of all the other buffs. 8% increase effect of your curses. Enemies you curse are hindered. Remember that. Put a pin in that. That's going to matter in a second when we start slotting support gems. But also, it's going to matter right now because we're going to come right up here. And come down this node, slow effect and hinder duration. Basically, our hindering is going to last longer, so things are slowed down. You know, a lot of people will invest heavily in movement speed so they can run around the arena really fast. What I'm choosing to do with this build is the opposite. Instead of me running really fast, I'm slowing everybody down. And while they're slowed down, then we're going to do even more damage. Look at this. Hindered capabilities. 30% increased damage with hits against hindered enemies. Hits is a keyword that matters here because damage over time effects don't apply, but things that just do all the damage up front do matter. So I will circle back to that when we start showing off our gear. Then we're going to come up and over to this tree here so that we get Impending Doom. 40% faster curse activation, so our curses are going to activate more quickly, which is good. We don't want to like put it at their feet and have them just run out of the area of effect before it fully activates. Then also it says your curses have 20% increased effect if 50% of the curse duration has expired. So as the timer is ticking down on the curse, once it gets to the halfway point and beyond, we're going to get 20% more effect of our curses. Then we're going to keep coming up here. I socketed the only jewel I have found so far, by the way. 13% increased critical damage bonus. But this tree here is huge. So chaos damage, 11%. This isn't the 7% we were getting on the earlier nodes. Each one of these nodes is going to give us 11, 11, 11, 11. That's 44% more chaos damage right there. And the last node, gain 11% of damage as extra chaos damage. So all the damage that we're doing, tack on take 11% of it and tack it onto the top in the form of chaos damage. And that's huge because we're going to be debuffing people so they take more chaos damage. Where am I going to go next? I am using Withering Presence so that as enemies get close to me, within 6 meters is the radius, they're going to get withered. What does withered mean? As always, you can just click on it and read. Withered applies a 5% increased chaos damage taken and can be inflicted up to 10 times. So the next place I'm going to go is I continue leveling up here to 56, 57, and 58 will be Withered Effect, and finally Wither Away. So 3 levels from now, we'll have this. Unwithered enemies are withered for 8 seconds when they enter your presence. 20% increased effect of withered. So we are going to basically be stacking on tons of debuffs to make people take extra chaos damage. After that, we're going to come down here, and this will also improve our curses. So 20% increased curse duration, 20% duration, 20% duration, and finally, if I can get to it, this note here, Fatal End, 30% increase of curse duration. Enemies cursed by you have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. Enemies you curse cannot recharge their energy shields. Love that. So that's where we're going to go next. And then the last thing that I will end up doing here is once we have fully invested in our ascendancy points and fully invested in being a blood mage, then we're going to come down this track here, 7% chaos, 7% chaos, until we have these 2 perks here. Event Horizon, 53% increased chaos damage. 53% is massive. That is a huge buff. The trade-off here is that you lose 3% of your life and your energy shields when you use a chaos skill. When we're a blood mage and we have this huge health pool and we're constantly replenishing it as we're doing damage, not going to be a problem. So that's where we're headed. But now that you know what we're working with here, tons of chaos and curse buffs. Now let's get into the skills that we're going to be using. So when we go into a fight, here's what we're going to do. The very first thing we're going to do is one or two things. We're either going to throw down the Effigy, which is a chaos turret, or we're going to throw down Despair. So it's either Despair then Effigy, or it's Effigy and then Despair. It just depends on where enemies are placed. If they're already fairly bunched up, I will lead with Despair and catch a bunch of them in this curse. What does Despair do? Well, Despair makes it so that enemies have a minus 33% resistance to Chaos, which will then turn into, obviously, weak to Chaos. If they are resistant to Chaos, it's basically going to bring them back down to just Standard. Now, we can do massive damage with a skill called Hex Blast. You can see that's at over 1,000 damage per second with the Hex Blast now. Once I level this up, I'm starting to get level 13 gems to drop now, so next one I get probably is going to go into Hex Blast and make this even more damage. But this is going to be an explosion, so you're detonating a cursed enemy. So we just threw down that Despair, and so that curses everything inside of it, and then we're going to bully somebody, and we're going to make them explode. And it's going to do this huge, over 1,000 damage explosion in a circle. Everything inside that circle that is cursed is going to blow up. So that it says up to 9 enemies will blow up. That's pretty freaking cool. Then we have the Dark Effigy. This thing's awesome. This is a chaos turret. So we throw that down, and I have learned it really just depends on what's going on. Usually I will try to put it like off to the side, like near me, next to me, so that it doesn't immediately just get destroyed. So I'm going to put it somewhere relatively safe, usually, not all the time. And then from there, it's going to shoot projectiles at anything that has a chaos debuff or damage over time on it. So everything I'm doing is applying chaos damage. So this is just going to be attacking everything in sight. So much so that you're going to see this thing just going brrrr, like a machine gun. It's awesome. This is also really good for boss fights because a lot of bosses will have very rapid attacks, and you're going to be spending a lot of time dodging, reading tells, and getting out of the way of those attacks. But if the Dark Effigy is on the field, all I have to do is just throw the Contagion spell on the boss and just run. And I know that the Dark Effigy is going to constantly be doing damage on the boss while I'm evading. I have Skeletal Warriors. I have tried several different minions here. I ended up taking basically all my points away from minions and saying, let's just use the Skeletal Warriors for one reason alone. They're going to help take aggro for me. They have a lot of health. They're focusing on defense. They don't do a ton of damage. I don't really care if they do 0 damage at all. As long as they're taking aggro, they're doing their job as far as I'm concerned. But they're just going to keep things off of me. I am using Withering Presence. So this is an aura that's going to radiate from us. So 6 meters in a radius around us. Anything that comes into within 6 meters of us is going to get the Withered debuff, which is going to make them weaker to chaos damage. One of the first things I'm going to do is also throw a Contagion. Just chuck it out there. I don't care who it hits. Just as long as it hits somebody, we're good. Because when they die, they're going to spread that Contagion throughout the mob, and it's going to snowball and ramp up its damage. I'm also using Unearth so that I can raise up a whole bunch of undead scorpions out of the mob that we kill. And remember how I said we're going to be hindering enemies? Well, actually, my Skeletal Warriors, per a support gem, they're going to be slowing enemies that they hit as well. We're going to be applying the hindering effect on our Contagion spell. So that's one of the support gems I have slotted in Contagion, is whenever somebody is affected by Contagion, they're going to get hindered and they're going to be a lot slower, which makes things a lot easier for me. But also remember, while they are slowed, we get, I think it was like a 30% increase to the damage on hits. Now that's why I'm using the Chaos Bolt, and I'm using the Ricochet support gem on it so it can bounce in between enemies. So this is already doing well over 600 damage every time we cast it, and it's rapid fire. It's shing, 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 and so that's 600, 600, 600, 600. And depending on what gear I've got slotted, different gem, amulets, rings, and whatnot, I can get this up to about 700, but I trade off some resistances for it. I have Bone Cage on mainly because I was farming, the Count for a while. He's a really fun boss fight, and I use the Bone Cage a lot when he howls and the fog comes in, and then you're getting mobbed by all the little werewolves. I just throw down Bone Cages like crazy, and it impales everything, so I can just focus on evading the boss. But that's why I had that on. Now here's the thing, I'm also using a spell called Profane Ritual. So a lot of times what I will do is I will throw down the curse, right, Despair, and then I will do the Hex Blast to detonate everything that's marked in that circle. And somebody dies, right? Somebody dies. And immediately I throw in the Profane Ritual, which is basically a spell you cast on a dead body to create a pool of damage over time, chaos damage over time. It's like a pool of damage over time. Now, anything that is stuck in that pool as it's doing damage, that pool is then going to start throwing these energy charges at me, no matter where I am on the field. It's just going to start chucking them from the pool as it's doing damage, and you'll see these little blue orbs start to float around me. Those are these power charges. Now, if I have these power charges, I can then, per potential, which is a support gem I have slotted on Hex Blast, now I can up the damage of Hex Blast. I will consume those power charges I've been collecting and basically apply critical hits, which when you're doing over 1,000 damage per Hex Blast and then you start doing crits on it, it's a frick ton of damage. It's pretty cool. All right, let's start talking about gear. The two weapons, so I'm going to be using a wand and a scepter combo here. And this was a white wand. This was just a white wand that rolled with chaos damage. And I was like, I can work with that. And then I started like applying, the regal orbs and exalted orbs. And I just kept getting luckier and luckier and luckier and luckier. So this is a level 12 Chaos Bolt. That's where the Chaos Bolt in our skills is coming from. It's from this wand. But it's going to give us 23% increased spell damage, 51% increase to chaos damage, which is massive, 51%. Going to get some extra mana, going to get some attribute requirement reductions, which is great because the scepter I'm using requires more strength than I actually have. But 31% mana regeneration rate, huge. Love this thing. And then the scepter I'm using, if you don't have one of these, right, it's a unique, that's okay. You can just use a standard skeletal scepter that will give you the skeletal minions. But this thing is really cool. So this is the Dark Defiler. Gives me extra mana, gives me extra intelligence, gives me mana regen rate. So I never run out of mana. It's never a problem. You'll see I'm spamming spells like crazy, never getting low. But here's the cool thing. Gain 3% of damage as chaos damage per undead minion. So for every undead minion that I have on the field, I'm getting an extra 3% of chaos damage on top. Pretty freaking cool. I also have this Devouring Diadem. It's not the highest level item in the world, but I do really like the, obviously 98% increase to energy shields is really big. It's a big buff. But here's the cool thing. Every 3 seconds, consume a nearby corpse. And nearby basically just means in your field of view. It will reach out really far. And this diadem that I'm wearing will just start eating dead bodies on the field and converting them into 20% HP of my total pool. And I like that it's a percentage because the more that we invest in our health pool, the more HP we're actually recovering from this thing. I really like this Corpse Finger ring that I'm wearing, mainly because of the one thing you see in there, grants 1 additional skill slot. Not mandatory, but I like being able to have more options, right? So I'm able to have a full extra spell slotted in my build. Okay, so those are the important parts of the build. So I'll be sure just to maybe just include some extra clips now, because obviously we have to show everything on screen just to break down the build for you, but I'm sure you want to see it in action more as well. So I'll definitely roll some more footage so you can see this thing just absolutely deleting mobs in this game. It's super fun. I highly recommend this build out, guys. I know that the Chaos Witch takes some time to cook, and I've even refined my build quite a bit since the last time I posted a Chaos Witch video, and this is really the ultimate of where we've ended up after a lot of trial and error, a lot of money spent, gold spent, refunding passives and then trying other things instead. I'm very happy with where this is. In fact, when my last clear on Geonor, Count Geonor, on the cruel difficulty, I finished the fight with all my flask uses ready to go. Like, we just weren't in trouble, right? We just weren't in trouble. Part of that is that I've run him a lot, so I know his tells and his attacks. I know how to evade them and dodge them. And that's a big part of it for sure. But it's just nice that this build is a chaos build that has the capacity to take down bosses just fine. Because I know that that's one of the things that most chaos builds struggle with is boss deeps. But basically what we're doing is we're stacking debuffs. So I'm basically going to throw the contagion at the boss. I'm going to then do the life drain. Here, let me show you my essence drain here. And this is only going to get better as we get more skill slots in these things. So basically against the bosses, I'm going to throw out the contagion first. Then I'm going to throw down the turret, the effigy. Then I'm going to hit him with the essence drain. And here's what I'm rocking on that, by the way. 30% more damage over time, but a shorter duration. Just 20% shorter duration, but we're going to do 35% more damage during that time. And then I'm actually just going to double down that by using fast forward. I'm going to shorten the duration even more and get us another 30%. So it's basically going to do more damage in a shorter amount of time instead of less damage over a longer period. We're going to do more damage in a shorter period. So I'm throwing contagion, throwing essence drain, throwing down the turret, throwing down despair on the boss as well. So now he is cursed for a longer period of time per our build. He's going to take extra chaos damage. I will at some point try to get within close proximity of the boss to wither them, and the turret is going to do a ton of damage with all of these effects applied to the boss. The turret's going to do even more damage. So anyways, that's the build. Let me know if you like it, try it out, and give me some feedback on it, guys. I really appreciate it. If you ever see a gap in my build, feel free to let me know as well. I mean, a lot of guys in the last video post were like, I'd take some perks out of the minion stuff. And you know what? I did end up doing that. I think that was the right call. We're just going to full send on Chaos and Curse. That's it. Thank you so much for watching the video today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully, we will catch you in the next one. If you did enjoy the video, let me know by leaving a like on it. It's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube. And feel free to subscribe for additional Path of Exile content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.